kept a diary since the age of 6. The diary I use now isn't the same diary I started with. The original is torn, ripped, and aged. There are some diaries I kept without meaning them to be diaries, but they were friends. They were people to talk to when I had no one else. They understood my problems, and I knew that they wouldn't talk behind my back, unlike other friends I had. At the age that I am, friends are easy to come by and easier to lose. Marks in the sand created by the tide fade by the hour. Marks on the skin created by a knife fade by the lifetime. But marks on paper created by imagination have been proven to last generations, centuries even, and this is the mark that I hope to make. My great-grandmother wrote in a diary from the time that she was 16 to the days when her arthritis got too bad for her to hold a pen. She then began typing. By the time she died in 2005, she had typed up every diary entry and printed them out, keeping them in a 3-inch binder that's nearly bursting at the seams. I've read through most of it, and it's interesting to know what she was like at my age, how we were alike, and how we were different. I often wonder what my great-grandchildren will think of my diaries, and then I wonder about the parts of my great-grandma's diaries that she left out. What was a lie? Looking through my diary, I see the lies, I see the confessions, and I think how shallow I must be to lie to my best friend. Looking through my first diary, I noticed the little white lies here and there. In this entry, I said my sister stole my pen, causing me to change pen colors. However, Jessie was already asleep. I had just dropped my pen and was too lazy to pick it back up. So why did I lie? Why bother lying to myself? A year later, an entry about what had happened in my life after 4 months of not writing anything down, but I didn't mention my cat dying. Several months later, I remember going back to that entry and scribbling it into the space next to where I signed my name, but how could I forget something like that? Looking through the bottom shelf of my bookcase, which is where I keep all my old picture books and Bibles, there's a section where I keep 6 tiny notebooks. This is my history. Some were written in extensively, and some were written in hardly at all, but they were started. When something important happens, the first person I want to tell is my diary. That way I'll always remember how I felt that day, and what exactly happened. My great-grandmother, it seems, felt the same way. She never wrote much, sometimes only a few sentences at a time, but she often wrote details. Reading through her younger years, she wrote mostly about the dates that she went on and movies she saw. As she grew older, she began to write about important moments. My great-grandpa Les being drafted, the atomic bomb, color television, the man on the moon, and then she began writing about her family and the troubles they had. One memorable entry detailed the birth of her first son, Dick. I had never seen a new baby, she wrote, and Dick was purple and his head went to a point. Les and I said no matter what, he is ours and we love him. I've wondered to myself many times why my grandma wrote in diaries. She died during a time when I didn't write, so I didn't care to ask. But if I could go back in time to when she was a teenager, it's what I would want to know the most. Diaries are hard to explain unless you've had one. The spirits of diaries are there to keep the writers company, to keep their memories fresh. Reading entries from my diaries, I immediately remember what happened that day, how mad I was, how excited I was, who was with me, what we did. I'm glad I have them. The me that lives inside my diary is different than the me that lives on the outside. While I will hopefully remain in people's memories for years to come, it's the private me, the diary me, that will live on into eternity when my face is all but forgotten. It's been 5 years since my grandmother died, but through her diary, through her personal secrets and dreams that she recorded, she still lives.